Welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. Today, I am honored to have Nancy Collier. She's a psychotherapist, an author, and a mindfulness teacher. She's a longtime student of Eastern spirituality and a psychotherapist, as I said, an interfaith minister, and the author of several acclaimed books on mindfulness, technology, and emotional well-being. She's a national speaker and thought leader on women's empowerment, conscious living, and our relationship with technology. Very, very relevant today. Nancy has been featured on Good Morning America, NBC News, and in the New York Times, among other media outlets. She's also a regular contributor to Psychology Today, and she writes a popular Substack column on emotional awareness and presence. Her teachings blend Western psychology with contemplative insight, guiding people to reconnect with themselves in an always on world. Welcome, Nancy. I'm so excited to have you.
I am delighted to be here, Julie.
So tell me about your early career, if you would. Where did you start from and what have you learned along the way?
Wow, that's a big question. You start you
Yeah.
start with the openers there.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, when I first got out of school, I was a TV producer for some time, and then
Awesome.
yeah, it was fantastic way to spend one's 20s. And then I got more interested in going a bit deeper and so on. So went back and got my master's and did some institute training and became a psychotherapist. And then I started all along the way. I had been a top level sort of a circuit top 10 equestrian and
Oh,
so I started a little company called The Winning Mind, which is about getting whatever is in the way of your best performance out of the way. And why is it that, the same training for one person can affect us one way and we can win and the other one not? So that got very interesting for me. And then I ended up going back. I was raised as a Buddhist. So Eastern spirituality has always been part of me. And then I started combining the kind of performance based at any level, leadership, sport, theater, anything, with mindfulness training.
mhm.
And got very interested in the role of the mind. And
Mm.
then, as time goes on, you have a family, you have other things happen, and you start realizing how much of your life you've been who you should be. And you
Yeah.
fit all the roles and you've done everything there are a lot of cash and prizes, right, for having done it. But there's a point at which as a writer, I'd written a number of books, and often I write what I'm processing because it helps me understand it better. So
Yeah.
I was realizing some years back that so much of my life I I didn't even know if I wanted to do it. I I
Mm.
I knew I did it and I knew it did it quite well, but what was driving me and there became a kind of that still small voice went from a whisper to a little bit louder about what do I want with,
Yeah.
Mary Oliver's One Wild and Precious Life, right?
Mhm.
And, great mom, great wife, great career, great, all that. And what is the deeper wisdom? How many roles am I filling here? So that's when the emotionally exhausted woman, that book was born. I don't want women to have to wait 5 decades to come to that awareness.
Right.
So that's a
Right.
little bit of the background.
I think a lot of my listeners are going to totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's almost like, and for some it happens one day. They wake up and they say, "What am I doing?"
Where did I go?
Where am am I in all of this? I'm
Yeah,
living for so many other people,
that's
and I
right.
don't even know if I like all this stuff or not.
Yeah, and life, maybe it's, what the question that I had asked myself in that book was, is it just exhaustion? Is it just, do we have to get to burnout? Do we have to be screaming by the time this question about what I want?
Right.
We're trained from the time we're very young that our value is how we take care of others. I mean, that's what we're praised for and loved for. So we get really good at it. And then along the way, um, we start losing the tether to who we are uh, as an individual.
Right.
And when I would ask women, did hundreds and hundreds of interviews, well, what is it that wags your tail? What do
Yeah.
and most what would come into the fold was shoulds. And I would sort of gently point
Mm,
out that sounds like another should, like another narrative, like you should want that. Do you want that? And for a lot of women, this whole sort of room that is, what do I want, was just so filled in with other people's ideas of ultimately what would keep us safe, right? Because
right.
the reason it's not just because it's lovely to be liked and pleasing, but it's because we've conflated survival with being what others want us to be. So a lot of my
Yeah.
work is, how do we make that choice? And I don't take any of this lightly because as a psychotherapist, I get the levels of it. But how do we really start choosing real over likable so that our safety is not just that, we're well perceived. That's great, but it's sort of smoke and mirrors and very transitory. How do I make what really makes me safe feel like it's the truth?
That's beautiful. Have you had anyone come or react to that by saying, I used to know who I was,
Mhm.
and when I spoke out or when, I didn't care how was perceived, it didn't turn out well for me.
Well, here's the thing, Julie, is that
Mm-hmm.
none of this is about I don't care,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because that's just black and white, silly nonsense. Of course we
Okay.
care. We're
Yeah, of course.
related
Yeah.
creatures. And people like when our job on earth is making sure they're okay. They like, that people,
Yes.
and people don't like when we change the rules and say, I also matter. Um, but that's again another cultural narrative that is false, which is that it's considering one's own wants and needs equally, not extra,
Mm-hmm.
not below, um, is some sort of my way or the highway thinking. And then, I don't care about you. And we're going to lose all our relationships and end up, a woman in the woods with cats. No one wants that, right? But
Yeah.
it's this deep existential fear that we do this with discernment. So we have to be, first of all, very mindful of what of this is real fear that I will be
Mm-hmm.
rejected or there'll be retaliation or I'm not in a position where I can lose this. In past times where a woman's income depended upon her husband, it was far more of a real question, right?
Yeah.
But so we ask this question, first of all, how much of my sort of thousand deaths a day by I'll make it work, I'm okay, this sort of peacekeeper role we play is, um, we know the cost, right? It's exhausting us, it's burning us out, it buries our truth, it makes us disconnected from our own desires, all of these sorts of things. But how much of it is real and how much of it is the false sort of background programming that I'll be alienated and alone if I speak my truth ever.
Right.
So once we decide on that, it's not like we roll out our whole truth and spit it at people,
Right.
but we
Right.
start acting authentically in small ways. And in the meanwhile, we start building what would I need to feel safe to be more authentic in my life. So maybe I need to understand my finances better, or maybe I need a part-time job. Who knows, right?
Right. Right.
But whatever it is that we really think, or if it would be retaliation from a partner, whatever that might look like, or a child or a friend, um, the most important thing is that we know our truth before we even start speaking it. So, what I'm always doing is inviting women to even get curious, to make themselves a destination, right?
Huh.
Which
Tell
is
me what.
different than before we start expressing it.
Okay. Tell me about that. Make themselves a destination. Just describe that a little bit more.
Yeah. So, we're trained, again, our conditioning is really strong to have all of our attention outward
True.
on other people's experience. And if their experience is not happy or positive, or there's something not perfect, um, we're to blame. We've done
Oh, yeah.
something. We've got to fix it, because fixing is caring, right? All these false ideas that we've learned. So we're hyper vigilant about not only how we're being perceived, but also, is everybody having a good time around me?
Yeah.
Everyone. And so when we start to make ourselves, and we know how to do that, right? Because the list is very long of who we're supposed to be, and the list is very long of who we're not supposed to be. So we know how to be the character, and we're always, are we being perceived positively? Um, and so making oneself a destination is having the courage to actually get curious about what's true for me,
Right.
which is a very different question. What is it like for me to be with this person? Or
Mm.
how am I feeling in this moment? Or do I want to take this trip? Or whatever is on our plate, right? Do
Hmm.
I really like the kind of clothing I'm wearing? Right? Do I feel comfortable in it? Sort of, it's almost like we're meeting a new character.
Mm.
And so making ourselves a destination is the turning the lens to, we're trained again from the time we're very young. Don't make it about you.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
right? Don't ever make it about you. Why not? Why not? So this is an invitation to women to say, it's okay if it's also about you. And how is this moment nourishing or you? What do you need today to make it a good day? These are important questions. How did that comment land on you? We go straight into action mode to
Hmm.
clean it up and be whatever it is will make the other person okay, that we don't even pause there. That's what that
Hmm.
would mean.
So how did creating that book lead into your later work?
Well, so that book was Emotionally Exhausted Woman was just a few years ago, but in the meanwhile, because I am a writer,
Yeah.
um, I've written a book and it comes out next in 2026, which is
Awesome.
fastly approaching, in the fall, called Narratives. Let go of the stories that keep you stuck.
Mm.
And so this is a book about all these stories we keep in our head about ourselves, about our partners, about other people in our life, uh, that corrupt our vision of what's actually happening. So self stories being, key, right? What's the story we're telling ourselves about ourselves?
Right. And where
And
did
it,
that come from?
where did that come from? And what it does in a lot of ways is it sort of ends up becoming the contact lenses through which we see everything. So if I'm if someone, I'll make it up, has a story, I'm unlovable, right?
Mm,
Then
hmm.
they will meet every situation already with that assumption. And then
Right.
what's so tragic is then often they go in and prove that unconsciously,
Yes.
right? I'm sure you've seen that many times.
100%.
Yeah.
I've, I was, when I asked you that question, I was thinking about one tremendous message that I had to reform in my mind over the years that I got when I was young was she's so bossy because I was the
Uh,
oldest
uh,
granddaughter.
uh,
I automatically took charge of the cousins, and things had to be my way and all this. It was not said in a mean or ugly way,
hmm.
but I
It's how you
perceived it
lived
as a
it, though.
negative, And so when I got older and I became a leader and I went into the corporate environment, one of the things that was running through my head all the time is don't be bossy, don't be bossy. Um, and it took a long time for me to find the good in that.
Yeah.
The good was I was a natural born leader. The good was, I would organize
Mhm. Yeah.
and have everybody be happy, but it wasn't, I was getting something out of it too. It wasn't a sacrificial thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was feeding me and everyone else was having a good time too. So it took me a long
Definitely.
time to reconcile that message that I ran through my head all of the time.
That's a beautiful example. We have this list, right? Don't be bossy, don't be aggressive, don't be too much, don't take up too much space, don't be mean, don't be a boss lady, don't
Mm-hmm.
be a complainer, don't be a burden, don't be a oh God, the list is endlessly long. And
Right.
it really creates a kind of claustrophobic experience of life. And
Mm-hmm.
when we feel bad about that or we worry about that, what we're really doing is we're strengthening a narrative that's false, right? If we look at, oh, I was
Yes.
too bossy, right? That guilt is essentially the emotional enforcement mechanism
Uh-huh.
for a faulty system. Because it's saying that
Absolutely.
a woman that is a bold leader and has something to say, that there's something wrong with that. And so when
Correct.
we give in to that or we even feel guilt, it's a reframe of the shame and the guilt for speaking up because that's just the arm of that government that says get back in the box because a woman, the narrative we're really challenging is a woman shouldn't be bold. A woman
Right.
shouldn't be smart. A woman shouldn't be a leader. And we've framed all of that as a negative thing because it threatens the powers that be. Let's get under it. But your ability to, it's not just find the good in it, but it's to see the insanity of that being framed
Right.
as negative because you're a woman. There's a fantastic story I love, a woman named Heidi Roizen, I think her name was, a big venture capitalist entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. And she was featured in a Harvard study,
Mm-hmm.
sort of a business plan and how she succeeded. And then two Columbia professors, you probably know the study.
No, I
No,
don't.
okay. Two Columbia professors got a hold of her case and thought, hey, what if we did something kind of cool here and we gave half our business school class uh, this same case with Heidi Roizen and then another one with Howard Roizen. Then
Oh,
they asked the class, what do you think it would be like to work for that person? So fantastic responses. So she's this super successful, powerful uh, person. And what came back was, as Howard, she was assertive, a good guy, probably somebody you want to go golfing with,
oh
smart.
yeah.
When it was Heidi, what do you think it was?
Oh, she's a
Bossy.
bossy, she's a bitch. Yeah. I
That's right.
wouldn't want to be around her in
Yeah,
private. Yeah.
you got it. So, what's the difference between aggressive and assertive? Your gender, right?
Oh, yeah.
100%. And, so, and also we question how she got to that level, right? Yes, that might have been through
Oh,
nefarious.
yeah.
Yes, of
Mm-hmm.
course, because there's no
Mm-hmm.
way. But so you did a beautiful piece of psychological work, which is what's also good in this, because it had been the way you experienced it was a thing that made you kind of take up too much space or take away someone else's power or somehow narcissistic or just icky things to be boss. But what is it we're saying? That a woman can't be a boss, right? I mean, I know, for years I used to laugh because my husband, if I said to him, could you cut a tomato for the uh, salad? He would say, yes, boss lady. And I would say, well, what about my asking for what I would like is a boss, right?
Right.
There is this
I'm not paying you to cut the tomato.
exactly, and don't eat the salad then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, all of these cultural narratives that a woman shouldn't be bigger uh, than what? Than a mole? Why
Yeah.
not? Why not if we bring something to the party? So all of these shouldn't be, because again, the existential fear, if I am, I'll be rejected, I'll fall behind the herd, I'll be left
Right. They won't
quiet.
like me, blah, blah,
Exactly.
blah.
And then I'll
Yeah.
die. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
then I'll be eaten. Um, if we question that, then we can offer ourselves the
Hmm.
contrary narrative, which is I'm allowed to speak. I have something to say. I can't tell you how
Exactly.
many young women, don't raise their hand in class still.
Oh, oh, yes.
They don't want to
Yes, I
be
know.
bigger than the boys or all the right answers. If you have the right answers, raise your hand.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, funny thing, when you mentioned guilt, that is a huge emotion. And
huge for
it's
women.
incredibly useless. It's
Tell me why you say
entirely
useless.
useless. I say useless because to me, and I realized this a long, long time ago when I was doing a lot of work. I was in therapy. I have clinical depression. And
Mm,
so it was not an easy early career. Let me put it that way.
mm,
I can't tell you how many performance reviews I got that I was too much. I was too whatever, assertive, aggressive, you name it, right?
mm.
Because
In the box. Get in the
I
box.
just, yeah, because I didn't fit in that box.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Good.
refused. I refused. I literally remember refusing in a professional development class, refusing to let anyone tell me how to be.
Fantastic.
You can tell me you can tell me how to act,
Yeah,
as part of my job,
yeah,
but you may not tell me how to be.
yeah.
Big
Beautiful. So
difference for me.
fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
And when I got through my therapy, I determined that guilt was a huge issue for me. And so I decided I'm not doing guilt anymore.
Ah,
I told my
I'm out.
mother, I told everyone who tried to put me through a guilt trip, listen, I don't do guilt.
I
If
love
I
that.
have harmed you, if I have harmed you
Yeah,
in some way,
yeah,
let's talk about it and I will sincerely apologize and own that.
yeah.
Otherwise, I
Not
don't
doing
do
it.
guilt.
I
No,
love
I'm not
that.
motivated by guilt.
Yeah,
So,
And you're the exception because most women,
Yeah.
most of their choices are driven by guilt. And again, if
And
we look at
yeah,
guilt, though, as a sort of a learned guilt,
yes, yes. Kids do not have guilt
right?
when
Right?
they're young, when they're very
Yeah.
little,
And I
until
will
you,
not feel guilt for who I am, as you were saying.
yes. And to me, that is the ultimate psychological torture.
Well, it's a form of depression, right?
Very
But
much
again,
so.
what I always encourage women to do when it comes to guilt is, first of all, like you did, let's question, is this my guilt or is this something I've been taught to feel, right?
Correct.
That's first. And then also, what is it? Because guilt thrives in secrecy, it thrives
Yes.
in murkiness. So let me
Hmm.
name, what is my crime? What am I
Yeah,
guilty for? Let's just
correct.
really name it. And then from there, we ask, what narrative is my guilt uh, enforcing? So let's
Right.
just say, not in your case, but let's say I said no. I'm going to do what I need to do for myself, even though I know you want me to do something else. If I back it up, I realize the cultural narrative that I broke is that a woman should never say no.
Correct.
So then we ask the follow up question, which is, do I believe that? Right. And then we offer ourselves the contrary, sane mantra of, I'm allowed to have boundaries. I'm allowed to have limitations. We implant what is true where there had only been this sort of, immediate, unconscious dive into I'm guilty. I don't really know why. And then that's supporting a false narrative. So we do that
Mhm.
step by step by step, and then get to that place that you got to, which is miraculous, which is I'm done,
Yeah.
right? If you
As
don't
soon as I
like,
feel guilt, I
yeah,
immediately question where's this coming from? And have I harmed?
that's right.
Have I created harm? If
And
I have
that's
not
it.
created harm, then I'm harming myself. Why am I
Exactly.
harming myself?
Exactly.
What narrative
Beautiful.
is running in my head that that I need to challenge and get rid of?
That's right. Because
Yes, for
underneath it,
sure.
there's a false narrative, right? Which is I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be small or I'm supposed to be blah, 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 blah. And yet this is actually who I am, right? So
Right.
we give ourselves the dignity of being who we are. But that process, breaking it apart, most women walk around in a chronic state of guilt.
Oh
So,
yeah.
it's a background program just always playing. And there, one of the main ones is this idea, this storyline that women are responsible for everyone else's experience. And there is such liberation when we realize it's okay to be disappointing. You'll survive it.
Right.
And it's
It's
okay to you can get okay with not okay.
exactly.
So once we
Exactly.
get that that's not our failing, if so and so is unhappy, even if it's because of a choice that we made, learning to trust that so and so can then manage what so and so needs to do to feel better, and
Right.
that not okayness is a part of growth and life and all of
Living.
it. Exactly.
Yes.
So when that becomes no longer a source of our responsibility, right? We discover our power when we stop living by guilt, because then
100%.
what's true can lead.
Correct. And it's usually much, much better than what you imagine or can do when
Mm-hmm.
you're under that cloud.
And then it's real.
Mm.
And then what you're
Authentic.
living is real. It's authentic. And so,
Yes.
and so much of this guilt that we operate from if we directly, which is what we're terrified of, address it, that I recognize that, you didn't get what you wanted and I needed to take care of myself, that creates sadness for you or disappointment. And I can feel empathy for that
Mhm.
and not feel guilty.
Yeah, I feel empathy, but it's not my responsibility to
That's
fix
right.
it.
That's right. And I don't feel guilty, right? Because we have this big equal
Right.
sign. Other not happy, disappointment, sadness, uh, equals I'm guilty.
Right.
So I'm saying both can coexist,
Oh
but I
yeah.
won't, but not equal, right?
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I recently had an experience with my daughter, my older daughter, where I had really done everything I thought absolutely beautifully in an experience and really given above and beyond. And apparently, even though I didn't know it, there was one thing in the whole process that she wanted from me that she didn't tell me. And so at the time that was needed, I wasn't able, I chose that I was at my physical limitation to be able to give that to her. And um, it was for her an enormous disappointment, just enormous. And so the 7 months of all the things I had done went away, and this one moment didn't happen. And so it was a big piece of work to help her see that I was not going to feel guilty and I cared about the fact that she didn't get what she really wanted, even though she never told me that was what, but that I wouldn't collapse the two. And she really had a hard time with that I wouldn't feel guilty.
Yeah.
The choice that
Yeah.
I made to take care of myself at that final hour, as you said, I didn't act to harm her, and it didn't go against my values because the narrative that a woman should have no physical limitations and be a superhero, I
Mm,
don't believe that's true.
right.
So yeah, but we really have to dismantle that whole sort of narrative structure that we support with our guilt.
Yeah, we do. We're co-conspirators a lot of times
Yeah.
in our own misery.
Yeah. Yeah. And because we don't recognize what we're
Right.
supporting. And
Right.
again, making oneself a destination. Do I get it clear? What is the narrative I broke?
Hmm.
Oh, that I have limitations, that I'm human. I,
That I'm
I did.
human. You're right.
Right. Hang
Right.
me in the village square. I'm human.
I'm tapped out.
That's it. And actually, one of the great sort of violations for a woman is I do have needs. Oh my God, the cat is out of the bag. I
Yeah.
actually have needs. That is like the ultimate betrayal of the system.
Oh, yeah. Needs and desires, even.
Oh, yeah, forget the
I mean,
desires is like a whole nother
oh,
PhD.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's become, I mean,
Mm.
interestingly, it's become a kind of hip thing now, the desires piece. And what worries me, because I'm sort of a sociologist, a cultural sociologist, is has having desires become a should, not a want?
Right.
I see a lot of that in my practice. This sort of now, the new woman that we're supposed to be is also sort of, you know, full of desires and, wearing red lingerie and always available and
Yeah.
has the drive of a 19-year-old boy. And it's
Yeah, no.
become, yeah, because I want to give also women the when it comes to sexuality, the privilege and the permission to say that for them maybe menopause has meant that they find their pleasure in other places. Maybe that's their body's natural way of saying that's going to become maybe an old way of getting pleasure. Maybe it's
Right.
what interests me. So what does
Right.
desire mean? But
exactly.
again, we're defining these for ourselves.
And that's key, I think, when you can determine, um, is this coming from within me or is this coming from outside of me?
Yes, yes, right. I've been
That's number
carrying these
one.
burdens that were never mine,
Right. Exactly. Or these expectations,
expectations.
Yeah. Well, we're coming close to time. So I'm going to ask you my three questions that I ask everyone at the end.
Okay, uh-oh,
All
I'm
right.
ready. I
All
hope.
right. Oh, you are. They're easy. So if you could close your eyes just for a moment and tell me what appears in your mind's eye when I say wise woman.
Wise woman. Well, I see an image
Mhm.
of interestingly an American Indian woman, and then I see Pema Chodron behind it, who is a
Mhm.
Buddhist teacher. That was the first thing that appeared.
That's beautiful. I too. That is my vision. Is
Ah,
an Indian American Indian woman.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
Okay. Next question. You can open your eyes.
yeah.
Where do you like to roam?
Ah, beautiful. I love that question. I like to roam in my own heart and my own consciousness,
Hmm.
in
It's
an
always,
with an exploratory, with a miner's cap, just no judgment, and just
yeah,
looking,
and
just being,
discovering.
yeah. The field of
Yeah,
experience to me is, I have a sense of awe that we are. When people say, "How are
yeah,
you?" I think, right, how am I?
yeah. I love it. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah. Where do you
You're
roam?
exactly right. I the same. I
Ah,
pretty much, yeah. I use nature to get me to that place a lot of
mm,
times. But yeah, it's generally either in books or in
mm.
my own mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And
Okay.
body and heart.
Yeah. Okay, my final question is this.
Uh-oh.
What makes you restless, but in a good way?
What makes me restless? That actually makes me laugh, I will say, because I am by nature a restless person. I will say.
Yes.
I am restless by nature. So in a good way, I think when I put the word good next to restless, what comes to my experience is when I allow restlessness as a place that I don't need to heal. So when I say to myself, and I do it many times throughout the day, which is, it's okay to be restless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's not something I have to make go away. I can get okay with the not okay, or what feels not okay. Yeah, I'm restless. So it's the acceptance of that. What about you?
Absolutely. Well, I consider restlessness to be a seeking.
Hmm.
So when I think of being restless, I think of never stopping learning, never
Yeah.
um, never settling.
Yeah. We're
Just
strivers, right? We want to
strivers.
learn. We want to chew
Right.
on this life.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
It's a good thing.
that's
I
what
love
makes
that
me
reframe.
restless. Yes, that makes me restless is
Yeah.
I don't want to sit still. I don't want
Yeah.
to stagnate,
It's like when you share with performers, anxiety means it matters.
Yes, exactly. You can't put in the emotion that a performance needs if you don't have something
That's
inside
it.
of you wanting to come out, you
That's
know?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
This is
hope that women will read The Emotionally Exhausted Woman, which is
yes.
out in everywhere and in 10 languages. So, and then the book before that is called Can't Stop Thinking, which
Yeah,
is
I saw
about
that one
overthinking.
too.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. That's a big one. Yeah.
that's a big one.
And then in 26, yeah. And I give workshops all over the country. And so please come, and nancycollier.com.
Perfect. And that'll be in the show notes. I'll also put a link to the book or your both of your books that are out right now. And later on next year, maybe we can have you back and you can talk about your
Love to.
newest.
Love to.
Oh,
Love
that
to.
sounds great.
All
Well,
right.
Nancy, thank you so much for appearing, and everyone else, talk with you later. Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs ups and reviews go a long way.